It's another great night to be a Terp here in College Park as we bring you all yet another Terps Esports broadcast. My name is Ives, also known as Ives Senior.
And my name is Tyler, also known as Human McPherson, and it is a great night indeed for some Terps Premier League of Legends action.
That's right, Tyler. We've got a lot to cover in our pre-show, including a quick review of how the game works, as well as our interview with our team's mid laner, Neko Nyachan, also known as Matthew.
But before we get into the action, let's go over the rules of your typical League of Legends tournament match. If you've never seen the game before, League is a multiplayer online battle arena, also known as a MOBA. 5 players on each team battle it out on Summoner's Rift. There's monsters in the jungle, minions in the lanes, and turrets to be destroyed. Victory is achieved upon destroying the opponent team's nexus.
For this league match, the Terps are competing in a best-of-3 regular season match against James Madison University.
It's important to note that this is the first game of the season, so it'll definitely set the tone for the rest of the season for the Terps.
So now that you know who we're facing and what's at stake, it's time for us to introduce you to the players of the Terps League of Legends team.
So in the top lane, we have Bread, using his unique champion pool to put his opponents on edge.
In the jungle, we have Pika, leading the charge without fear, even if sometimes he shouldn't be.
In the mid lane, we have Neko Nyachan, our rising star of the team.
As our AD carry, we have Lyrex, using his 200 years of experience to guide his team to victory.
And finally, for support, we have Viet Mike, our eager team captain with the untiltable mental game. And speaking of Neko, here's a quick pre-match interview.
Here we are with Neko, also known as Matthew. Can I call you Matt?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. You were on the academy team last year, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. How do you feel coming into the season with a new team?
I feel very excited. Obviously, I got like some familiar faces. Like I got Brett as my top laner again, and I played in a couple like ranked flex games with like everyone else too. So very excited. Scrims have been going decently, I guess. I wouldn't say they've gone really well, but we've had a couple successes. So I'm very excited for the game today.
Great to hear. What are your thoughts on the TV show Arcane, hit TV show?
I loved it. I main Victor, so I was very excited. Although I'm not a big fan of the new skin, I want the old skin back.
What can you do? And one last question before you go. If you could have any item from League of Legends in real life, what would it be?
Definitely World Atlas gets the passive gold generation, so I'll take that.
A true League player's answer. So that concludes our pre-show for this League of Legends match. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together, everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game, and so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Off game, or will Red turn things around?
Adventures take flight at STAM. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body, feed your mind, feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance, sing, perform, find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids.
And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together. And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together. Everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game, and so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Walk game, or will Red turn things around?
Terp Adventures take flight at STAM. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body, feed your mind, feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance, sing, perform. Find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids at heart. Let your imagination fly. Compete, play, with wings on our feet. Here your spirit can fly. Here your soul lifts up. Here you remember those who came before. This is STAM. This is the center for campus life, where Terp Adventures take flight. You belong here. Come fly with us.
welcome to the casting booth. We should be getting started with the game momentarily.
Looking forward to this draft phase. What do you think we're going to expect out of our Terps Esports tonight?
Well, I don't like trying to predict the future, but, our coach, Dahan, aka Destiny Seal, he's been practicing with his team lately, getting some good practice in with his scrims. So I think the draft should be pretty solid. I don't want to say anything yet because, as the team manager, I have a little bit of insider info, so I don't want to spoil anything. And I also just don't want to make sure. Sorry, I just have a few things left to hear. Yeah, just want to make sure that, don't want to set up any expectations that are going to be completely destroyed as we go into the draft. But, champ pools are looking pretty good. So I think we're going to have an interesting game.
Well, I postured this question to our wonderful mid laner Neko while we were out there, and I'll ask it to you as the team manager. If you had one item from League of Legends in real life, what would it be?
Well, you had a good answer of what is it, Runic Compass to free gold generation?
World Atlas.
Oh, World Atlas, of course. But what I thought, as well as many other my players have thought, because I've asked this question to them before, a lot of them thought about movement items like Ghostblade, the full name is Yomu's Ghostblade, because it allows you to move around at a faster speed, which is very useful for getting to your classes on time, because, UMD is pretty big. Yomu's Ghostblade. There's another one. It's a backpack. It's for supports. I forgot what it's called. You know what it's called?
Backpack.
Yeah, it's like a backpack, increases your speed. Oh, there's also Dead Man's Plate, increases your speed as you run along. And then when you get up to someone, you hit them in game, of course, because you wouldn't hit someone in real life.
Of course.
You slow them down, but then you also lose your speed, but you do more damage, so it's pretty useful.
Me personally, I was thinking of Hextech Rocket Belt.
That's fun.
Just for a bit of a dash.
I'm not sure if the draft has started yet. I'm not getting any updates from the game. Hold on, let me check in on them real quick. What's going on?
These league players, they're everywhere, 5 of them. It's so hard to wrangle, but hopefully we'll get into this draft soon enough. You can see them right now, locked in, hyper-focused, so ready to blow up this rift.
Yo, that's Matthew.
Causing impact. There's our wonderful interviewee, Matthew. Me personally, as a diehard support player, I hope to see some Yumi.
I don't know if you're going to see that one.
Maybe. Why not? It's an incredible choice.
Okay. Anyways, I'm getting word that we're in draft now. Our observer should have the link momentarily. Should be able to open that up. And we'll see what our Terps and the Dukes are picking. So what were your thoughts on Arcane?
I thought it was good. I watched season 2 and 1 essentially all over Christmas, maybe a year ago.
And here we are in draft. Okay, sorry to cut you short.
Oh, well.
This is what we're here for.
My personal story, it's whatever, maybe let the viewers feel a connection to the caster, but I'm sure this draft is more important. It's fine.
All right, let's see. So our Terps are on the right, I believe. Right, they've banned, let's see, Amumu, Noonan Willump, Yunara. New champion, Yunara. Which is a pretty powerful pick, very mobile, a lot of damage. Then we have Varus ban, and for Duke we see Trundle, Wukong, Volibear, and right now they're picking their last one. A Corki ban. Good. That's a good ban. Corki's pretty strong.
Incredibly strong, especially like Yunara. Yunara, incredibly strong early game is what I'm getting reports on. Do you have anything to comment on that?
The early game is kind of decides the entire game, really. If you win early, then you're able to maintain control of the map, then you can just win the game off of that. So, early game is very important, but of course that means you have to maintain that strength that you build up in the early game. If you get a lead in the early game, but you just throw it away, then it's all for nothing. So let's see. Oh, it looks like Terps forgot to ban their last champion. Hopefully they'll confirm it with the enemy team, which they should be able to. And so now Dukes are choosing their last ban, and we'll see what that is in a second. We see, okay, Lulu ban coming out last. All right, so now Terps are picking their 4th champion. They're on red side. So that means they get the last pick to be able to get a counter. In the meantime, let's look at their champions. So what is... Okay, so I'm getting word that Terps meant to ban Tom Kench. That's their last ban.
You know, I think it's an incredible ban because Tom Kench is a bit problematic.
Yes, he is.
Ate a woman.
What?
And I just think we can't really...
I mean, you know, he eats a lot of things.
We shouldn't tolerate that.
He's like the entity of gluttony, essentially.
Incredibly. But, you know, I just think, you know, you can help your nature. It doesn't matter how you're born, it matters how you act. And Tom Kench just, I think, really gives in to his primal desires, and it's a bit problematic. And I think it's good on Terps Esports to ban him. But right now, 4th pick out of Duke, we're seeing a Lucian hover, and they're going to lock it in there.
Okay, let's see what their last pick is.
They've got a Vi, Rise, and an Urgot.
It's a good comp. Although, I was hoping to see Brett on that Urgot.
You know, maybe they did some pre-scouting and decided as first pick on blue side, they wanted to really steal that away from their top laner.
Yeah. In case you didn't know, in the winter, Brett, our current top laner, he picked Urgot into our former premier top laner, who he is a much higher rank than Brett. But in that tournament, Brett was destroying this guy. Like, you should have seen it. Nobody was expecting this out of Brett, but, you know, I think that was really his debut. That's where me and pretty much everyone on the team saw how strong he was and how skilled he was as a player. So I'm really sad to see that he won't be able to play Urgot. Although I'm not sure if this is Fearless Draft or not. I'll have to check on that, but I'll get back to you. And so lastly, we'll see Braum being picked by Duke. And in response, we see the Terps picking Karma as our support. Unless maybe it's Karma mid, Yone support. What do you think?
I think that would be an incredible decision. Maybe a choice by our fearless leader, who should have a bit of fear if he decided that. But I think Karma support would be an incredibly strong pick.
As compared to Yone.
Definitely compared to Yone.
Okay.
I think in general, Karma is a very good pick to have there. I think Yone support doesn't really do anything for the team, you know, unless you just
you're right.
want extra damage.
Yeah, he just does damage, doesn't have much utility, and he's not very tanky either, so he can't do much for the team. But, you know, Karma's able to speed up her allies, give them shields, heals their HP, so very useful, very high utility pick there. On her own, she's also pretty strong, but as a support, she's very impactful. Yeah, do you want to talk about any other picks?
Well, I personally love a Lucian pick because that's, you know, one of the top 80 carries you pair with a Yumi, along with Twitch. But other than that, Braum, I think I don't like his vibe. But
you don't like Lucian or don't like Braum?
I don't like Braum. His vibe. I think
he's a good guy though.
I think he's a nice guy. He protects people.
Of course, that's his whole point. He's got a shield.
His whole point has a shield. He's going to really protect their Lucian in lane.
Here's our players again. We got Bread, Pika. That's an Echo. Yeah, we know that guy, right? We interviewed him.
Yeah. Oh my god, I know that guy.
Wait. Okay, then we got Lyrex, and finally Via Mike. Should be ready momentarily. In case of any of you viewers have played League, but don't know why we're doing champs like on a website, it's because if we do it in the game, in the client, not every player has unlocked every champion. So typically what you'll see in pro play is you'll see them pick their champions in all sorts of weird orders because it's actually one person controlling it for each team. So then, you know, they'll be communicating with the team, they'll be communicating with the coach. They'll say, oh, we need to lock in our support, we need to lock in our ADC, we need to lock in our jungle, which is a very weird order. So yeah, normally they'll like trade their champions at the end once everyone's locked in. But since not everyone owns every champion, we do it on a website. So it's, you know, we just go with that. Whatever is selected on the website is what we run in game.
You know, you'd think for Pro League players they'd have every champion, you know. Just goes to show how many of them there are in this League of Legends.
Well, I think they actually are all missing one. I think they don't have Yumi unlocked.
Oh, that's strange. Why would they do that? She's so good. They keep nerfing her in every single patch note because they understand that she's just incredible. A great late game addition. You know, not much presence during your early laning phase because she's obviously just like essentially half of a person. She's on someone else, can't tank any shots for you. But you know, at the end, once you hit her shield button, the person you're on becomes nigh unkillable for, you know, the few seconds that it's active.
That is true. She's very strong. Okay, sorry, I'm getting word from our coach. It is in fact fearless draft. That means any champion that was locked in that's going to be played in this match has been banned for the rest of the series. For example, we saw our opponent top laner pick Urgot. That means, unfortunately, Brad will not be able to play his Urgots.
Just another great reason to come back next week.
Exactly. We got to see his Urgot, man. It's unbelievable. I saw it last night when he was playing it. No. Yeah, last night. It was unbelievable. Like, this matchup that I absolutely dreaded, you know, as one champion. You guys know Vladimir, you know, in-game, in League of Legends, not the real person. You know, I hate fighting that guy in-game. But Brad, last night, he was just destroying this guy on his Urgot. I was so motivated when I saw it. But yeah, that means that any other champion that was locked in will not be played for the rest of the series. And in case any of you concerned, it's only a best of 3. So thankfully, if we go to games 4 and 5, there's not going to be like, 10 times 3, 30 champions banned. You know, that'd be a lot to have to deal with. I mean, it's definitely made Champ Select a lot more interesting. I think in the past, right, if you saw, you know, the Worlds tournament, you know, Worlds, where all the best teams in the world come together and they compete against each other, it gets kind of boring. They pick the same 5 champions over and over again, you know, so I'm really glad they implemented Fearless. I think it started more on, towards, the collegiate, Academy League, and then it's been slowly moving more up to, you know, the top most competitive leagues. So I'm really happy to see that.
You know, because you're just kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for your champion pool. Like, you only have so many champions that you've refined to play at that level. You're in a best of 5, you know,
Totally.
map 4, map 5. You know, matches are getting a little messy. Team fights are getting a bit. You're more on edge.
Oh yeah,
games
for sure.
don't play out as much as you know, predictably as you might see previously. You know, incredible upsets, and you know, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you know, in order to play a champion, in one of these competitive games, you really gotta put in the hours for it. You know, this isn't solo queue, right? You gotta win. I mean, sure, maybe LP isn't on the line anymore. The ladder points you get when you win a ranked game, but you know that doesn't matter. We're fighting for our school. We're fighting for Terps Esports here. So we gotta pick our best champions, the ones that we have the most experience with, and you know, draft. I mean, Fearless Draft unfortunately makes that harder, but I think it also makes the matches much more interesting, like you mentioned.
Incredibly, you know, you get to see new champions. You get to see what people can do. You know, maybe someone on James Madison University has their kind of Urgot, and you get to see that incredible play. Hopefully not. Praying for a Terps Esports victory.
Of course.
But,
I mean, we don't want to be too biased, you know, as casters.
I mean, of course.
But,
you know,
go Terps.
because we're
As I wrote in
essentially
the Twitter post.
journalists as casters, and we have to be, you know, unbiased and report the truth.
Exactly, which is what we're going to do when we get in a game, of course.
Obviously.
Let's see. Okay. So our players are currently picking their champions in the game, formally. So it should be another 2 minutes, and we'll be in game. Let me get another view of our players. Oh, in case you didn't know before, did you know that League, when you're spectating, it used to have a spectator delay built in that we couldn't get rid of.
Built in, even if you're in the lobby?
Yes, even if you're in the lobby spectating.
Oh my god.
So while there were a few limitations to what we could do with the stream, you know, we still could do something pretty good. But now we're able to do face cams live as our players make an amazing play, right? When they win a team fight, when someone does something insane, right? We can get a live view of their reaction.
You see their beautiful faces as they pop off, as they fist bump,
Yep.
as they
I'm really happy
hug
to
each
see it.
other.
Of course, the stream is delayed as a result. To maintain competitive, what's the word? Competitive integrity? Yeah, that's it.
Glad you found it.
Okay. We should be in Champ Select. No, we're finishing Champ Select, so we should be in the
Champ
loading
Select.
screen in about 35 seconds, which then means the game has to load, of course.
Of course, and hopefully, this isn't ranked. I assume everyone's got an incredible computer, so
Yeah.
we'll get in there super fast.
I mean, yeah, of course, thanks to, University of Maryland Recwell, all of our sponsors, and the School of Journalism at UMD, for allowing us to have this space here in their building and for providing us with all the equipment we use.
Indeed.
It's really great. So, if any of you watching are about to graduate high school and, you're thinking about journalism, you should definitely go into journalism. They're pretty cool. They allow us to do stuff like this.
Pretty cool.
All right, the game is going to start momentarily.
Just waiting on a little bit. Hopefully, get in there fast, as I said. I'm just praying to get into the action real soon.
Yep.
And, as my co-caster was saying, not just journalism. If you're thinking about anything, UMD is an incredible choice. And, if you've got a side hustle of queuing ranked, League of Legends, Valorant, Rocket League, Overwatch, just any competitive game, I think Terps Esports has an incredible program there for you too.
I completely agree. It also has room for people like us who maybe aren't as good at these games, but we love them. So we're here to cast, here to support our players. It looks like there was a small mistake when making the lobby. There is actually a spectator delay built into the game, so we're gonna have to wait another minute and 20 seconds in order to see the game. But that's not too bad. We can keep talking in the meantime. We can discuss the draft. Actually, that'd be a good idea. We didn't get too much into that. Okay.
Indeed.
So I've pulled up the draft here. Sorry, you guys can't see it. Anyways, Ives, something other than Urgot and Karma. Something about this draft. What do you think?
Something about this draft. Well, I think you put me on the spot here, which kind of sucks.
What do you think Vi's gonna do for the Dukes?
Well, I think Vi is really just gonna typical bruiser is gonna get in there in the front line,
Yep.
and CC opponents, cause some havoc, disrupt plays.
Yeah, she's really good for just picking one target on the enemy team and just locking them down. There's a lot of engages in the game. Crowd control is what CC stands for. Because if someone can't move, that makes them a very easy target. So it's very important to just pick someone and lock them down and just blow them up. Because if they do a lot of damage, they are the priority target. So typically that's what the bot laner or the ADC is, which stands for attack damage carry. So for the blue team, for Dukes, that's Lucian. He's got some mobility, he's got some damage, but he typically falls off in the late game. And then for red team, for Terps, we have Xayah, who has some more utility, and late game does a lot more damage, but early game can be a bit of a struggle. So yeah, hopefully our AD carry, Lyrex, can stay safe, even with someone like Vi on the enemy team. Okay, and we have another minute or so. So what do you think about Yone for mid lane?
Yone?
Yeah, for the Terps. We got Yone in the mid lane. What is he going to do?
I think he's going to do maybe a little bit of going in. Yone, very good for going in, getting burst damage, and backing out.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
He's not tanky. He's not there for, a long time. He's there for a good time.
But it's a great way to put it. Yeah, he can go in for a short period of time, do a chunk of damage, and then get out. All right, so let's see. What are we doing here?
We've got a 3-man in the river right now, looking to invade, going into the enemy jungle, and we're just warding. We're putting wards on camps, keeping track of our jungler, the enemy's jungler, as this match goes on.
All right, we got Dukes hiding in the bushes. over in the bot lane, hopefully to get an ambush. Wait, is that why it's called ambush? Because you can hide in bushes?
You know, I never really thought of that. Or maybe they call it a bush because of an ambush.
That is a reasonable answer too. You also thought about the words organ and organize? It kind of makes sense though, because organs sort of organize the functions of your body.
I think you're kind of stretching it a little bit. I
Okay.
think maybe we're going to have to look up the etymology on that one and do a fact check.
Oh look, they're hitting the minions. Whoa, what do we got here? Okay, so we got blue team, Dukes, hitting the mid wave. Okay, Dukes are going to reveal
finally
themselves to
revealing
the
themselves.
Terps bot lane.
Braum missing a skill shot. You know, not as effective as an ambush as they might have intended. But
Alright, some trades back and forth. Looks like Terps wins that short trade. Getting control over the bot lane. Just some shots thrown at each other. Some damage back and forth.
pushing JMU off the wave, you know, trying to displace them. We see that chip damage come out of Karma.
Yeah, Braum's getting pretty low actually.
And he's just getting walked down right now.
Oh, and Terps getting the level 2 advantage. Makes them much stronger. Yeah, they are pushing them under their turret, getting a lot more damage in. Probably should back out now, though. They probably don't know where the Duke's jungler is. Alright, so Terps are going to back off here. So, Ives, what's so important about the minions in these lanes? Like, what do they do for the teams?
Well, they give you gold. And, you know, gold is the currency that makes the world go round. You know, it lets you buy items. And right now we're seeing just an incredible trade from the bot lane again out of Terps Esports. But, you know, what you really need to do in this game is you need to get blasted on the minions to get the gold. Not just the XP that they give you when they die around you, but also the gold, because if you don't, then the enemy team is going to, and then they have a money advantage, and, you know, that's half the game, essentially.
Of course. Yeah, okay, here we go. Terps are getting a lot of damage into the enemy team's bot lane. Yeah, enemy team's bot lane. Nothing too much happening in the other lanes. You're getting a lot damage in here. Braum's going to put up his shield. Karma's going to fire some magic. And yeah, another question for you, Ives. What do the turrets do? Like, what makes them important?
They protect your nexus. So at the center of everyone's base in League of Legends, they have a nexus, and there's a series of turrets you have to pass through in order to get there.
Oh,
You know, you can't just run to the nexus and, you know, strike it. You have to destroy the turrets in order. And, you know, if you get too close, they'll shoot at you.
Oh, here we go. Some fighting. Here's the Duke's jungler.
Vi, Lucian, Braum
Gonna
coming
miss
in.
on the Karma initially, but then gonna follow up and lock her down. Lyris is gonna try and follow up and finish off the
Chase
Lucian. Gets
down.
the kill, but unfortunately he's locked down and gets taken down as well as via Mike.
Unfortunate for our Terps Esports.
You know, scores 2-1 right now in kills. But hopefully we can make a comeback soon enough.
Of course. One more kill for James Madison to get that Feats of Warfare.
Oh, of
So,
course.
You know, we'll have to see how the Terps are going to play around that.
Yeah. And if you played League a long time ago but haven't played in the last, I think, year or so, oh, here we go. There's some action here. Neko's going to get engaged on by the Vi again, and he's able to back off. Unfortunately, much lower now. I don't think he's going to have to back off here instead of being able to play against that Rise. So, where are we? So, Feats of Strength. It's kind of a newer feature. There's 3 total objectives, and whichever team gets the first 2 wins the Feats of Strength, which means their boots, which are an important part for almost all the champions, they get upgraded. So they'll give them more movement speed, give them better stats, and give them better passive. Here you go, some trading here. Mike is going to walk a little too deep into the Duke's bot lane. Going to get crowd controlled, slowed, but he's just lifted the sliver of HP before Pika shows up to back him up.
Incredible. I was concerned there. I thought, you know, Mark Harm was going to die there, but...
oh, yeah, I thought he was
thankfully-
dead for sure. I'm surprised he's still alive. You know, that's just what Karma does, you know, getting out of tough situations.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, now this leaves Lyrex on his own, which isn't great, but he's going to have to play safe. Oh, there you go. He's got some... So something Xayah does that she shoots these feathers out, and they'll stay on the ground. And the player can recast them at any time and pull them into herself, and it'll do damage to any enemies that get caught in them.
That's
And if
great.
it's 3, they get rooted, which means they're stuck in place. So very good to either run away or get more damage in.
And it's great to get past that Braum shield, you know?
Oh, of
Braum
course.
is blocking objectives from the front, but if those feathers are coming at you from the back, can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Probably. Do you think that was why they picked it in Champ Select?
Well, Braum was the last pick for... Oh,
Oh, no, you're right. Braum was the last pick. Oh, here he goes. He's getting some huge damage out. Braum going to have to flash. It's a long cooldown.
we see both of these James Madison players
Ooh,
low on
Lucian
that
with a
blue
sliver of
tower.
HP almost taken down. That would have been a lot of gold for Terps Esports. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that. We get some trading in the mid lane. Neko is going to go in a little bit more. Unfortunately, he loses that trade, but not too much. Other than bot lane, not getting a lot of action in this game.
Yeah, just crashing the wave and into the tower and then backing.
Yeah. Okay. So can you tell us about these champions in the mid lane? Like, how do they work? Like, what are they doing right now?
Well, I mean, they're just laning right now, but they're just trying to get at each other. You know, you're, as you've been saying, you know, trades, like winning trades. You're just trying to, you know, get interactions which are beneficial to you, you know, decrease the enemy's health where you can eventually go in, get that kill, get that gold.
Of course. And besides the gold, you also, since once you kill someone, they have to spend time respawning and then coming back to the lane, which means that's a lot of gold that they miss out as well, and XP. So dying is definitely not a good thing, which unfortunately Neko didn't see Vi there, but he has to use his ultimate to get out. It looks like we got a lane swap too. We have Brad on his top lane Mordekaiser down in the bottom lane. It's not where he's supposed to be, and then we have our Terps ADC and Terps support up in the top lane. Yeah, what do you think about these lane swaps? I've been seeing them a lot recently.
I think lane swapping is pretty beautiful. I think it's a, you know, very North America League of Legends strategy.
Of course.
And I think it's just really, you know, controlling that, you know, like macro and the map is, you know, incredibly important to get that edge. And, you know, if you have an advantageous lane swap, I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I really like how it shows like the, you know, how open the game is. You can kind of just go anywhere and do anything. I mean, you know, it's not like a big map with like a bunch of random things to do, but like, you know, it's just cool that it allows you to do that. Of course, there are some limitations to it. I think Riot has added recently to stop lane swapping, because when a team does know how to do lane swaps, it's very powerful. But when a team doesn't know how to respond to it, it becomes incredibly limiting on what they're able to do.
If the Terps Esports had lane swapped at the beginning of the game, they would have faced reduced gold from the minion kills and experience, and they would have done reduced damage to the towers, and they would have taken more damage from the towers, I believe.
Yeah, I think it actually one-shots. Looks like Neko's going to trade again against that Rise. I don't think he knows Braum is here. I hope he doesn't go in too far.
That Braum is just waiting.
Maybe
for
Neko's
his
onto
time.
them. Maybe he knows someone's there. Okay, looks like there's some action going up on the top lane. A lot of players are coming here to fight over the Void Grubs. It's an important neutral objective that both teams can capture, but only one can.
Void Grubs, if a team managed to get all three, spawns a minion whenever you hit a tower, and, you know, every Void Grub kill gives you a stack, which lets you do more damage to towers and really helps when, you know, you have that advantage, like the enemy team is down a man, you're going to want to rush a tower to get something back.
Yep. Void Grubs are very, very powerful. Kind of a newer thing, you know, in case you played League a long time ago. But it looks like Terps are going to take them. And, oh, another feat of strength. So the first one was getting the first 3 kills of the match, which so far no one has collected. The other objective was taking down 3 neutral objectives, for example, the Void Grubs. If a team kills 2 of the 3 Void Grubs, they collect a feat of, they collect 1 point for a feat of Monster Slaying, which if they win the feat of Monster Slaying, they complete 1 feat. So after that, they'll have to either get those first 3 kills, like we mentioned, or they have to take the first turret, which is another feat of strength.
You know, we saw this lane swap out of Terps Esports, but I don't think, you know, James Madison hasn't really responded in kind. It just seems like they're sticking to their lanes.
Yeah, I think it's actually not too bad for them because Urgot is ranged after all. He is able to continue farming while Terps is doing a lot of damage to their tower, what's happening in the bottom lane, the formal geographic bottom lane, we have our top lane from Terps Esports going down there, who's melee, but he has a ranged ability, so it's not too bad for him to last hit those minions and collect gold. So it does look like it's actually in favor of Terps. But right now we can see, if you look at the map, you can see that the laners are going back to their correct positions. Now, I'm not fully sure how the lane swaps work, when to start them, when to end them. But, they always look pretty weird.
Very, because, he's got one guy against two people, and you think to yourself, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, it's quite strange. Oh, I see what the lane swaps are for. Oh, here we go. We have to find the bottom lane. Braum going to use his Glacial Fissure, going to flash and try and lock down that Karma. Karma's getting very low. Zai's doing tons of damage here. Lucian also burned his ultimate. Not much damage left out from him. Zai's going to try and keep chasing, but unfortunately gets slowed, stunned, not able to finish anyone off. Oh, that was a big fight there. Nobody died, though.
Nobody died, and I think their Braum is just going to have to back.
Yeah. The Dukes are pretty low HP in the bottom lane, so they're going to have to take a recall.
And before that happened, you were talking about the lane swap. Would you like to...
Oh, yes. So Void Grubs were just up, and because Terps had more players in the top lane due to the lane swap, then they were able to have have more control over what's going on, so which means they get the Void Grubs, essentially, is what happened.
Incredible.
Here we go. Rise is going to use his ultimate Realm Warp to try and flank it behind that Xayah. Xayah, unfortunately, back into a wall, gets rooted, stunned, and oh, it looks like Dukes collect the Feat of Strength. Meanwhile, Bread is getting outnumbered out in the top lane. He's going to use the Realm of Death to trap Vine on 1v1. Hopefully he can finish her off before... Unfortunately, it expires, and he gets taken down by the Dukes.
And that's going to be a 4-win lead for the Dukes right now. But
kills aren't everything, though.
Kills aren't everything, because, as you can see... Terps still maintain a gold lead.
Yeah, that's true. It's not a big lead, but it's definitely something. And as we mentioned, gold is the primary method that the champions buy their items, which give them significant bonuses. Not only to just, stats, like how much damage they do, how much HP they have, but also some have very unique effects. Like we mentioned before in the pre-show, for example, Youmuu's Ghostblade, gives you movement speed, especially out of combat, which is very useful for just getting to a target before they see you.
Indeed. And as this dragon spawns, we're seeing, some movement toward the bot lane. The Terps are definitely trying to get, a quick Feat of Monster Slaying, because they're trying to get that back from the Feat of Warfare.
Okay.
And as you can see, the Terps did get that Drake. And also, if you saw that barrier pop up at the top of the screen, that is the Pit of Otacon, which is also new objective in last season.
Of course, Otacon.
Halfway through the match, Otacon's going to spawn in the place where, the most deaths happened, which
of course,
is
looks like most deaths are damage, which looks like Lyric is definitely pumping out that damage to that Lucian.
Mm-hmm. And, I believe it's just, you only get petals now. It used to be, depending on how much action happened, Otacon would spawn in one of two forms. And if there was less action, the Terps just claimed the feat of turrets.
Yeah, tower destruction. They got the first turret, which does give you a great deal of gold as a bonus, as well as that feat of strength. So now the last one remaining is Monster Slaying, which it looks like the Terps are winning, as they've collected the Mountain Drake, which will boost their defenses. And they've also collected the Void Grubs, which will boost their damage dealt to turrets. Meanwhile, Duke has collected the Chemtech Dragon, which you may have heard of Chemtech if you've seen Arcane. Essentially, it boosts their healing and shielding abilities by a small percentage, as well as giving them some tenacity, which will reduce the amount of crowd controlling effects. Essentially, if you get stunned for 3 seconds, but if you have 50% tenacity, it gets reduced to 1.5 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a game like League, even half a second is very significant.
Incredibly important, especially in team fights.
Yeah. 5 champions, if they just focus one guy who can't move, is completely vulnerable, they're just going to get blown up.
And we're seeing the Terps start this Rift Herald. We've got 4 people on it, but, you know, James Madison hiding in the jungle, looking to see if they can seize an opportunity to steal this Herald. But
looks like Terps have very good control over the map there. And they're going to claim that, which means they won feats of strength. And they're going to try to take down this Braum. Neko's going to take quite a bit of damage from Lucian, and Pika's going to finish off that Braum there, even the score just a little bit more. And it looks like the gold is up for the Terps by 3,000, which is quite a bit. That's almost a full item, but keep in mind that is spread out throughout the whole team. And there we go. Vietmite going to back up Lyrex, going to just keep poking down that Urgot. Going to make sure he can't get too much farm. And now they're just going to wail on this turret. Just a little bit of HP left. And thanks to those grubs, are going to take it down pretty fast.
And that's every tier 1 turret for the Terps in lane, I believe. Correct?
I think so. Yeah, that's all the tier 1 turrets.
Before, you know, James Madison even has a chance to get one.
Yeah, wait, is that true? Oh, yeah, it looks like James Madison hasn't taken a single turret, and our Terps have taken, is that 3? Yeah, 3 turrets. And in total, there's 11. There's 3 tier 1 turrets, 3 tier 2 turrets, 3 inhibitor turrets, and then 2 Nexus turrets. And those final 2 are the most important because, you know, they protect the Nexus, which, as we mentioned, is the objective to, you know, destroy the opponent's Nexus, and that's how you win the game. Although, unfortunately, they're also the weakest, and they're taken down very fast. So it's the outer ones that are the most important. Trying to not too much action going on, just some farming. We're going to push mid lane. If you look in the bot lane, actually, you see Neko's there by himself, but they have Vi and Ryze on, ready to just, you know, get the jump on him. He's got to be careful there.
You know, I'm not sure. Vi's just sitting in the bush, was probably hoping for Neko to, you know, overextend himself.
Of course. You know, if he uses abilities to do damage, then he doesn't have them to escape.
But unfortunately, that looks like, ooh.
Oh, now he's going to chase.
We're
Oh,
seeing
walks
a
into the bush.
recall, walking into the bush,
Gets a bit of damage.
fighting this Vi.
He's going to keep trying to... Now Braum shows up with the additional crowd control, and Neko's going to get taken down by the Vi. It was unfortunate 3v1. Hopefully Terps can make something happen somewhere else. You know, it's a big map. There's a lot of things to do. But it looks like they're not going to do much. It looks like they might be sieging the mid turret. Hopefully they can take that down. Brett's going to use his Realm of Death on Urgot. Going to miss that that ability right there. He's getting wailed on by Urgot. Although Pika's right behind him. Hopefully he can lock him down. Lyrex is there too to do even more damage. And that's another kill for Terps.
Really forcing that ult to just buy time for your team to come in and clean up.
Of course.
But what's unfortunate is that, you know, we're not going to see that buff that Mordekaiser's Realm of Death gives you. Defeating a champion in the realm does give you a portion of that player's stats.
Of course. And now we're going to see Brett use his TP bot lane, his teleport bot lane to save it from getting taken down by that Ryze. And now Lyrex is going to summon the Rift Herald to do a huge chunk of that turret. Now a team fight's breaking out. Pika's going to go in, uses his Crescent Guard. Although he's still in range of the other champions, he's taking a lot of damage. Now he's backing out. Lyrex is going to do some damage. Karma's going to try and get some crowd control in. Other players are walking in. Nobody dies there. Wow. I mean, how would you compare this kind of gameplay? Oh, here we go. Hold on. We got Dukes chasing. They're going to get crowd control. They're going to get stopped. Nobody's gonna die here. Although I think, is Dragon up? I think Dragon's up, right? Yeah, it looks like the Dragon's up. So what does this Dragon do? I think it's in the fire one.
The fire one, I believe it gives a better ability cooldown. Am I correct?
No, I think the fire one increases the damage. No, yeah, your attack damage.
Oh.
And your ability power. It's one of the best ones. Oh, Pika's going to use his ultimate here. A lot of AoE damage from Terps. Pika's going to back out. Terps getting a lot of damage and going to force the Dukes to back off, who unfortunately took the Dragon away from the Terps. But it looks like
get it back.
Yeah,
with
Terps
3 kills.
Yeah, they're definitely winning the gold lead, and now they have control of the map, which means they get to defeat Otacon and get a huge buff from that. Looks like they're just going to have Pika and Neko take that down. But, you know, they definitely got the damage, but hopefully no one from Dukes shows up unexpectedly.
And it doesn't appear like anyone is going to. After they get rid of Otacon, you know, they're going to get a buff. You might have seen around the map, you know, roses spawned, and you can collect those petals. You know, anyone can pick those up, but defeating Otacon stops the spawning of those petals, and then, increases the efficacy of them. They give
okay.
you a bonus experience, and they give you adaptive force, which is just if your champion does attack damage or does ability damage, it's going to give, either one. And then every time you get a kill, you're going to get one more petal.
Of course. Well, I think sometimes I've seen them in groups of 3. I think that can happen sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it looks like the players are grouping up sort of in the top lane region. Is Baron going to spawn soon? Baron's another very important neutral objective. Let's see here. So far, just farming, maybe claiming some vision, which, in case you're new to League, Fog of War is a very important mechanic in this game. You can't see everything. You can see where your champions are, you can see where your minions and turrets are, and you can place these trinkets called wards, which will allow you to see around them. Oh, here, Terps Bred's gonna use his Realm of Death to trap that Vi. She's gonna use her flash over the wall. He's gonna follow up behind her. Unfortunately, not able to finish off the Vi there. And Mordekaiser's is gonna take some damage, but he's just gonna keep walking in. That's what Bred does, really. Gonna force that flash out from Braum, another very long cooldown. Now, I think Terps are gonna recall. I'm not sure what their plan is here.
25 minutes is Baron, but, they still got a lot of time.
Yeah. So far, just more farming, So, as I was saying before, how does this kind of gameplay compare to what a new player would experience, Like, the sort of pace of the game is, quite different, I'd say. Like, right now it's only 5 to 6, but, what would the score be for, lower ranked games?
I would say at least double that. I think, we saw the feats of warfare, happen, very slowly over time. I think, when you're playing, a normal game, even ranked solo queue, you see those feats of warfare just happen, instantly.
Yeah, of course.
Competitive play, so much more disciplined, there's
a lot
spacing.
of, what's the word? Communication between your teammates,
Incredibly.
Very coordinated plays, very hey guys, let's make sure we don't die here, as well as also tracking the enemy jungler. For me as well, it's hard to just I'm amazed when my teammates just say, oh, the enemy jungler's here, they're in XY position. I'm like, how do you know that? But when you get to this level of play, you just sort of understand the patterns and are able to predict where they're going to be, and that's really important because you almost always will lose a 2v3. And what are they setting up here? Do you see what's going on? What's going on here?
I think they're just setting up for a gank on this Urgot, but unfortunately he didn't go out as far as they wanted. He's going to run back under tower.
Yeah, not much there.
I think just sticking around. Maybe they think they can get this tower and then rush the Urgot.
Yeah, there's that Grubs damage just wailing on that turret.
But I think he senses that and just backs off.
Yeah. Although, unfortunately, the Terps loses a turret in the mid lane to the Dukes.
Seeing Mordekaiser hold off against, two people, that Braum and Lucian, trying his best.
Oh, sorry. They lost the turret in the top lane, not the mid lane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so far just more farming.
And we're seeing, Xayah come into the mid lane. Display some dominance as the AD carry. Maybe cause Lucian and Braum to back off. And what's really beneficial for the Terps here is that they have those towers. If they get into a fight, they can go right back under it.
Oh, of course.
If you're in the middle of the map, James Madison is going to have that luxury.
Yeah, you're right. They're missing a lot of turrets here. Terps is going to keep pushing. They have quite a good gold lead ahead of the Dukes, which means they're going to be able to use that and just force them off wherever they need to. Although, of course, it doesn't mean they're invincible. They still have a limited amount of HP, and they don't do unlimited damage. So, while they definitely are much stronger, they still have to be careful.
Mm-hmm. They have to play smart because...
And it looks like they're not playing too smart here. The Terps try and go for the dragon, but now Bred's on his own top lane, trying to win a 1v1 in his Realm of Death. Just gonna have to run away. Almost able to avoid all the crowd control, but eventually gets taken down and executed by that Urgot.
We see the Terps late to the party. They're coming in, trying to keep them off of Baron there.
Yeah, Rai's going to use his Realm Art to try and flank them. Doesn't completely work. Crescent Guard comes out from Pika. Nico's going to use his ultimate. A lot of HP's falling. No clear winner of this fight so far. Lyrex is still alive, doing tons of damage here. He's using his ultimate. It's not going to be enough. I don't think he's going to win this. Gets huge damage off on that Lucian, but just a sliver of HP left. If he gets anywhere close to that Rise, he's going to get taken down. And it looks like that's the end of the fight there. Wow. 4 for 3. Looks like the teams are now 9-9 in kills. So unfortunately, the Terps didn't win on that trade, but thankfully nobody gets Baron here. So we've been discussing this Baron. What does it do when you kill it?
Well, when you kill it, it gives you a buff that empowers your recall. Recall usually takes 8 seconds. With the Baron buff, it takes 4 seconds. You get an increased ability damage, and when you're near your minions, they become more powerful.
Of course, yeah. It becomes much harder for the enemy team to clear them away, which means you get to siege their turrets with, much less resistance.
And one thing of note, though, Baron buff will vanish after a period of time.
Of course, it is
and
limited.
When you die. So, really, just getting Baron isn't enough. You have to get Baron, and then you have
survive.
to get out.
Yeah, you have to get it and be able to get out. If you get it and then die immediately, that's probably worse. Like, you get a lot of gold from killing Baron, but now the enemy team has full control over the map, which means they don't have to worry about anything, and they can just run down your turrets, and you definitely don't want that to happen. So right now, Baron remains unclaimed. Both teams just going to go collect some more gold and XP from their camps in the jungle here. Brom's going to fight for some vision, as you mentioned, Fog of War and vision, very important.
Just some clears. Gonna try and get, another source of vision for the Terps.
Yeah, the Scuttle Crab.
Is the Scuttle Crab,
Yeah.
which is in the rover. And this late in the game, it'll also release a burst that'll identify any nearby enemy wards.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It helps you take them down, because normally wards are invisible to the enemy team. You need special trinkets to be able to find them.
That's why you see that little hovering thing above some champions' heads.
Here we go.
That's,
Terps going to try and
Oracle
take down the
lens.
Baron. Hopefully they're aware of where James Madison is. I mean, yeah, they might have a hard time getting all the way up there. Urgot's in the bot lane, although he has his teleport ready. Breadstick is going to use his teleport first. And Baron is claimed by Terps, but hopefully they can win this fight here. Red's going to run in, gets the Realm of Death onto Lucian, 1v1. Hopefully he can win that. And now Neko's going to use his ultimate Glacial Fissure out from Braum. Their main DPS from Dukes is gone, which means Lyrex is able to just wail on them. So far, 2 from Dukes are dead, and 3 are gone. Hopefully Terps can get the last 2 here, and that's it. It's an ace.
That's an ace.
Flawless ace. No deaths on the Terps side. Hopefully, I think that means they can just end the game here with that Baron buff. Oh, as long as Lyrex doesn't tank that tower. What is he doing? Okay.
Gotta wait for his minions. What I think was beautiful there was just that Mordekaiser Realm of Death just isolates that Lucian, and getting the kill on the Lucian in the Realm of Death,
of course,
was
very
just
important.
so incredible. Keeps him out of the fight. He's not able to have any sort of impact on an enemy team, on the Terps, and
now the Terps destroys their Nexus and wins game 1.
Just a beautiful game 1.
All right.
Quick
That was
and
great.
easy.
Okay, maybe not easy,
They
did lose the feats of strength, so
they make it
flaws.
look easy.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they definitely make it look easy.
They
but
lost that feats of strength, and I think that was a turning point for them. They were definitely out of position. James Madison's Vi was incredible.
very useful. Yeah, a lot of
very
good gank
helpful
shots
in
from
getting those
every
feats of
player.
warfare. But I think Terps Esports just stepped it up and claimed those other 2 feats. Locked down the tower status. Essentially starved James Madison of gold the whole time.
No, I mean, it looked easy for us, but I mean, these guys, they really put in the hours, and that's not to say they play a lot of video games, okay? They do actually have very intentional and mindful practice on stuff like drafts, like what champions to play, as well as just, how to move around the map. It's a very important part, because, you can grind out solo queue games on your own, working on your own champion, but when it comes to coordinated play like this, mechanics aren't everything. You got to know how to work with your team. You got to know where to be at what times, so all that kind of stuff is, practiced They do a lot of scrimmages. They do 2 each week, as well as a VOD review, to review mistakes and see what goes right and what doesn't. So yeah, in a way, it's like a real sports team, which, I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
As their manager.
And, just like a real sports team, they're also, like learning matchups, like not possibly on a per player basis, but really on a per champion basis. Like I'm playing this person and the other, like my opponent in lane or just in the game in general is playing, this champion. Like how do I go about, winning a fight against them? How do I recognize what ability they're going to use? How do I dodge that? Things like that.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and I think we are going to go to commercial break while we wait for the next game to start.
Terp adventures take flight at STAM. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body, feed your mind, feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance, sing, perform, find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids at heart. Let your imagination fly. Compete. Play. With wings on our feet. Here your spirit can fly. Here your soul lifts up. Here you remember those who came before. This is STAM. This is the Center for Campus Life, where Terp adventures take flight. You belong here. Come fly with us.
And I think by the end of the season, now we play together, everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game, and so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Off game, or will Red turn things around?
Your ad tech stack is simple, streamlined, and easy to manage, right? Yeah, right. If you're in ad tech, then you know you have a problem. Ad tech is messy, and your tech stack includes way too many tools to effectively manage. At Playwire, we're here to uncomplicate your ad tech stack. We've consolidated the entire publisher ad tech stack into a single platform and added in proprietary technology and advanced tools to generate you even higher CPMs. Get access to an ad tech stack that is simpler and smarter.
welcome back.
Yeah, it's great to be back in the studio, back in the casting booth. We were here 5 minutes ago?
Less than must be.
Yeah. Anyways, funny side note, our view of the game was actually inverted. Now, thankfully, it's not. Thanks to CJ helping us out with this small technical issue. Our broadcast manager CJ, he's really good at his job.
Incredible. If you ever notice any long pauses right before we said a number, that's because we were trying to figure out what it actually said mirrored.
Yeah, nope, that was why. But we'll adapt to any kind of situation, just like our players are. So yeah, we're gonna have a new draft momentarily. I believe they were gonna be starting it soon. Yeah, they haven't started just yet, but I'm keeping tabs on what's going on. But yeah, anything to note from last game? Anything that happened there that might be significant? Anything that worked, didn't work?
I think what really worked was, that split push. Not split push. That lane swaps.
Yeah.
I think that was a really smart move. They didn't do it, permanent. They wanted those grubs. They saw something they wanted and they took it. And it worked out, in their favor. Because it allowed them to just get those towers even faster.
Yeah, the towers not standing a chance.
I think, James Madison, their early game was, better than Terps. My unbiased, casting is coming out.
They did get the feats of strength.
Their jungler was very active, very efficient.
For sure.
When going through that full clear of a jungle, they just, made that time to stop in lane, have some good ganks. But, late in game, didn't see too much of that.
Yeah, Terps, maybe they were a little unfocused in the beginning, but they brought it back together, as they do. And, yeah, while you guys are here, feel free to, use the vision chart, in case you are unsure if you're seeing things right. There we go. Okay, yeah, draft is not started yet, but keeping tabs on it. Gonna see when it does start. What's going on? Huh. Well, anyways, let's go back to our discussion of the pre-game interview. Okay, let's say your first choice item was unavailable. What else would you take?
Oh my god. So, well, I mean, some things are just you can't use because their special abilities are very league specific. You can't really get any enchanter items. You can't get your ardent sensor because I can't apply a shield to someone. Something like that. Maybe I'd get Thornmail.
Thornmail's a good one, yeah. Like the Thorns enchantment from Minecraft.
Just like that, If anyone ever tries to, pick a fight, which, look at me. I'm obviously just a fighter. I'm MMA matches every week. I'm in the boxing ring.
Every week, for sure.
And, I have that Bramble vest on. They're just
Yeah, they hit you. They're going to take, 20 magic damage?
They're
not even going to know what that is.
They're not going to know what that is. They could probably one-tap them.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have probably negative magic resist, which means it does more damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless, of course, they have a magic resist item.
That would...
What if they have Spirit Visage?
I would actually be really mad if, I had my Bramble vest or my Thornmail, and then all of a sudden I see, my opponent, he's stepping into the ring and he's just pulling something out of his pocket. And I'm just like, what's that? And it's oh, it's my Spirit Visage.
Yeah, man, Spirit Visage. Good magic resist item.
I'm like, oh, I wanted to be the one with the league item. It's just I
mean, though, what does magic resist really do outside of the context of League? I mean, I guess you take less psychological damage. Oh, I guess you could walk through fire and it wouldn't hurt as much. Oh, it looks like we're getting into draft. Now it's not inverted, so we can accurately and easily tell what's going on. So let's see. Terps is going to start with their bans. Let's see. Now, just remember, any champion that was selected in the last game is not playable now. So that means they don't have to ban anyone from the last game. So, for example, for whatever reason, Terps didn't want to play against Urgot, they don't have to ban it. So, it's useful, but it's also, something to play around, something to work on the draft. I think it's also made the role as a coach a lot more impactful. Because draft can, you can definitely win or lose a game from Champ Select.
Definitely. If you get, iced out on whatever role. You know, you have to pick some like third tier selection for you. It's just, I think that definitely impacts mental, and you know, it's already going to impact performance. So it's just a slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, you know, comfort picks, very big. You know, some people are very comfortable with a very select few champions. Although, unfortunately, sometimes I hear my players say, "Oh, I'll play anything," which is not true. They do not play everything. Nobody can play everything.
You say I play everything, and then your coach goes, "Okay, then play this," and you go, "Well, I don't really know how to play
sure,
that."
I played a couple of games on them on solo queue.
On solo queue, and I just had a jungler that like camped my lane and helped me, you know, get all the kills that I needed, and I just became overpowered.
They look ready. Do you think they look ready? I think they're ready.
You know, I think some of them look ready. You know, I think, you know, maybe every other person in that lineup looked ready, but it's, you know, it's still draft. I'll give them a little bit of time.
What's going on? I think one team is ready to start drafting, maybe not the other one. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me check in. Oh, it looks like... Huh. I'm not sure what's going on, actually. I think there might have been a technical issue, and now they're... Okay, hold on. They are using a new draft link, I think. No, it's same one? I'm not actually sure.
You know, it's technical difficulties happen all the time. Computers are beautiful, but they're very delicate.
Yes, of course.
It's, you know, you never know what's going to happen, but we always overcome. You know, perseverance.
Of course.
You know, our Terps Esports players, you know, showed a lot of perseverance last match. You know, doing it right now, even off the field.
I mean, like their first scrim that they played last week, it was pretty tough. Unfortunately, when I was, you know, as the manager, my job is to look for scrims for the parent team, as well as the academy team. So what happened, right? They had an opponent that, you know, was very suitable skill level, but then they canceled 30 minutes before, which sucks. But, you know, unfortunately it happens. Then we found another team, and then they canceled. Then the last team we found was very, very good. And they, you know, they were just really good. You know, our Terps, especially since it was their first match as a team, you know, it was tough to sort of bring the team vibes together. But I think after a loss like that, then after, you know, a reasonable win the next day, they're looking pretty good today. They got some good team synergy, good combos, good coordination overall.
Yeah, you know, I heard this team that's really good. Maybe you could scrim with them sometime. They're called T1. Do you know?
Oh,
do you know them?
Oh,
I think they're
I know that. Wait,
pretty good.
That guy Faker?
Yeah, that guy Faker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's really.
Oh no,
cool.
I think I managed for him once.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you. So you have that connect. You could probably like.
Oh no, I could
just talk to him,
call
get
him
a
up,
few
call
pointers.
Faker.
You know, he's got a skin in the game. You think?
But he does. Oh yeah, he does.
He does, and he
Dude,
has
he's doing pretty well.
like-
Oh, here we go in draft. Okay, so Duke's gonna ban. What do we have? Wait, this isn't. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. Never mind. It's all good. So, Dukes has banned Trundle, Wukong, and Syndra. And our Terps have banned Amumu, Nuno and Willump, and Talia. And so far, we have Duke locking in Yunara, the newest champion. Like we said, is an attack damage carry. That means she has good range, good target access, but she's very easy to kill. So Terps picking Sivir, very long-standing, very classic character. Very standard abilities, just doing a lot of damage from a good range. Also, something unique about her, she has a spell shield. She can cast, and for a very short time, she'll be invincible to one ability, which can either, you know, that ability can be anything. Could win or lose the fight, just completely off of that. Next, we have Orianna, lock it in by Terps. Good AoE damage, some good utility. That'll be for Matthew in the mid lane. Then we have Duke. They're hovering Alistar. It's a very durable support, a lot of crowd control. Haven't locked it in just yet, but maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe they'll confirm it.
Maybe. And, you know, if they're getting their AD carry and their support pick as their first two picks, you know, could make it easy for, we still haven't seen a support pick come out from the Terps. Could try and go for some kind of counter pick.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Make the laning a bit easier.
All right. Duke's going to go with their last pick for the first phase. And haven't picked it yet. Only a few seconds left. Oh, it looks like the same bands from, yeah, I think they're the same bands from last game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Akali's going to get locked in for Duke, and Renata Glass for Terps.
I think Renata Glass is kind of like a dark horse for
Oh, yeah, for sure.
me. You know, you don't see it a lot, but, you know, I get a bit afraid.
Yeah, you know, when Riot was designing her, they had the intention of, you know, most enchanters in the game, you know, they're like, you know, they're supposed to be like, you know, like very cutesy, very like, not like aggressive. But, you know, Renata is like very like dark, very like kind of edgy character. If you've watched Arcane and you know about Piltover and Zon, Renata is a Chem Baron, which means that she's like a very high in the sort of leadership of Zon. And she definitely gives off that vibe when you watch her in game and see how her abilities work. But yeah, we're going to see Terps banning Alawi and Sion for top lane, and Duke's going to ban Volibear, which is a top lane or jungle, and they're going to choose their last one in the next 2 seconds here. Which is going to be Morgana. Okay.
What's your opinion on that? You know, I don't
even know who on our team plays her. I won't lie.
Maybe they were a bit afraid of, you know, a Morgana, you know, like where did that go? I assume we're seeing that Orianna mid, and we're seeing the Sivir bot, and we're seeing the Renata Glass for
that's
support.
That's a good point. I never thought
so
about that.
I'm not sure where you might find that Morgana.
Yeah. Oh, you can play her in the jungle, but I mean, even with this team comp, it's like you don't really need her. You already have so much damage, so much range, and good utility. I think Terps are maybe missing some frontline. They picked Nefiri there. It's a very, very good assassin. And Duke's gonna pick Kayn there. It's a very flexible champion. Can be either like a frontline, does a lot of damage, bruiser, heals a lot during combat, or he can be just a very like high damage, high burst assassin who's kind of squishy. You know, once you lock him down, you can blow him up very quickly, but very stealthy. You know, very hard to lock down. And then Duke's gonna use Ornn for their last pick in top lane, and Terps is gonna pick Olaf, and not the snowman from Frozen. No, this is a different guy. So yeah, those are our champions. What do you think? Anything special about this draft?
You know, I think what's special about this draft was that Ornn pick. You know, Ornn special ability. You can upgrade your teammates' items.
Oh yeah, very
which I
useful
think
in
is
late
very
game.
useful. And I think, do you think that Olaf is capable of being a one-man frontline, or?
I think, okay, well, considering he has Orianna, that gives him some movement speed and some armor and magic resist, a small shield, and not to mention, Orianna's main focus is that she has this like ball that she plays around. She can move it around close to her, and that's how she casts all of her abilities around this orb. And when it's attached to someone, it sort of casts off of them. And her ultimate is the ball just sort of like implodes and like pulls everyone into them. So essentially, I think the strategy here is just put the ball on Olaf, tell Olaf to run in. You know, not run it down to like die, but like run in the whole team, and then just pull them in, which then lets the rest of the team do all this insane area of effect damage, which I think is a really good combo, and I think Duke's definitely anticipating that. So they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that does not happen. But yeah, what do you think about some of the champions for Duke? Like, have you seen Unar? Like, do you know what she does?
I do know what she does.
Okay. You want to explain real quick for maybe some of the people who haven't been able to play in the last couple months?
Well, I mean, Unara has like these balls, and like she'll just like have them. It's like, if you ever seen the movie like Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a while, but
she
maybe,
treats them like the rings, and you know they kind of flow around her. And she can use them. She can throw them out, and it creates this sort of pool that isn't very pleasant to step in.
Spicy floor, as I like to call it in some other games.
Yes. And, you know, she's very strong. She's new. You know,
she's very new.
Some players don't have that kind of experience, you know, playing against her, playing around her.
Yeah.
So, you know, depending on how resilient our Terps are, it could be a bit difficult for them.
There we go.
But I'm sure they're all prepped. Look at all of them locked in, you know, focused. You know, they were goofing around a little bit when we painted them last, but look at them. Look at them all. Face of the monitor.
They're hearing the words from our coach, you know, like how to play the game. Of course, I don't know what they're discussing, but I'm sure it's very important. Very confidential, too.
They're telling them, okay, so Q, W, E, and R are your abilities, and so you're actually it's really crazy. Like W, A, S, and D, I know like it's usually the movement keys, but like you actually right click.
You right click in this game,
And
right? Yeah.
you know it's crazy. I'm sure that's what he's saying.
I'm sure. Yeah. Got to refresh those fundamentals, of course. Always important. Fundamentals is what I like to say. Okay. So.
It's speaking of W, A, S, and D,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
big
what about it?
big update that is in the works.
Oh, okay.
Is that Riot Games is looking to add W, A, S, and D movement. I think they definitely
That's
see that as
crazy.
like an onboarding for newer players.
I mean, for me, when I first played, using right click to move was like pretty weird. Like I was not used to it at all. It's also pretty hard to play some champions, right? You have to let's say your opponent's in front of you, right? But they're running at you, right? So you have to click on them to attack them, but then run away from them, which means you have to go back and forth and back and forth. And if you trying to click on them to attack and you're off by just a little bit, you'll end up moving towards them instead, which is not good. You don't want to move towards an enemy, especially if you're ranged. That usually means you're very easy to kill. So with WSD, that's going to make ranged champions like the attack damage carries much more easier to play and much more impactful. A lot of players, like a lot of streamers, and I'm sure Riot too has been concerned about how it's going to affect ranked, because very new players are not very good at the classic right click to move button. I mean, neither am I. If you put me on ADC in one of these games, I'd get destroyed. Like there's nothing I could do. But yeah, any player who's played like a normal 2D game, they could have some insane movement.
Definitely, and I think it's really in response to question we asked in our pre-show interview. Arcane generated a lot of hype for League of Legends, and you just have a lot of people that maybe know Riot from Valorant. They play FPS, they use WAS and D to move,
Of course.
and they want to try League of Legends. It's the game that came before Valorant. It's the game that the show's about.
Yeah.
I
mean, I can't tell you the amount of people I've heard who say they like Arcane or they like Valorant, but they can't stand League. So hopefully this will make it a bit easier for them. Although, of course, there is also learning what all 170 champions do. It is a bit difficult, but it is definitely fun with friends. I can't guarantee that it's fun on your own, but it is fun for me on my own.
It's fun on your own if you queue support and you lock Yumi. I can tell you that. I used to get so mad in my ranked games. I used to play, normal support, and I had to, I'd do the right click to move, and it's very, high energy. I'm, very locked in because I have to do a lot of things like with both my hands. I have to keep the map state in mind. With Yumi, you just hit W, you attach yourself to someone, and they move for you, and you can move your camera wherever. Your abilities, like they track where your mouse is. It's
such an engaging champion.
It's a beautiful champion. It's a beautiful champion. I think it. It takes an incredible level of skill to master Yumi, and I feel like I do that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
guys, Yumi, you hear that? Play Yumi in your next solo queue game. If you're planning to play
your
ranked.
teammates will love it. So I never hover Yumi because I feel like there's a 50% chance that my teammates will dodge. Whenever it gets to me, I will pick Yumi because no one bans Yumi. And so then I'll just pick Yumi.
Sorry, can I get your username? I gotta look you up. I gotta look up your win rate.
Oh, so it's I've seen ya #NA1.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that later. That sounds like a lot of work, actually. I don't want to hit the buttons on my keyboard. Like the Yumi players, they don't hit too many buttons.
I hit the buttons on my keyboard. I hit Q, W, E, and R. And then, if I'm building, like Mikhail's, to cleanse my teammates, I also hit 1 for item. And then I hit 4 for my Oracle Lens. I hit my 2 for, my wards that I get from my Runic Compass.
This is crazy.
My Bounty of Worlds later.
This is crazy.
What do you mean it's crazy?
I didn't think I'd hear this. I mean, Yumi was actually like one of the lowest skill floor and then skill ceiling champions. That's we gotta have some champions like that, of course. Good man. Okay. All right. I'm getting told that we need to discuss something else. So, okay, let's go back to the draft. So right now we're waiting for the spectator delay, but that'll be over soon. So, what do you think about Kane? What is he going to do?
Kane, well,
On the
Kane
Dukes.
is a very unique character because at the beginning of the game, he starts in, his passive is kind of like a quest. And, you know, depending on how much damage you do to your jungle monsters or you do to your champions, you become either blue or red. He just visibly changes color. You know, you have blue Kane or red Kane. Red Kane is kind of more like a bruiser, more tanky, and blue Kane is going to be like an assassin.
That's cool.
And so, you know, my prediction for this, you know, you have the Alistar and you have the Ornn. You have two very tanky characters.
You're right.
I think we might see like a blue Kane. We'll go for that.
Yeah, Blue Kane, very quick, a lot of burst damage. Just all right, looks like we're getting into the game. I'm hearing the audio. Don't see it just yet, but I'm sure we'll see it momentarily. And here we are. Here are our champions on the Summoner's Rift. Those are our Terps running out to claim vision and watch for the invades from the enemy team.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
So right now they're doing what's called a 5-point, which is where each player in the team, which is 5, goes to stand in a certain point where they can watch the enemy team for invading.
Beneficial for that vision. You know, your jungler is going to walk through all of that, you know, their jungle. And you don't want them to have that vision because like we talked about in the previous map, you know, knowing where your jungler is kind of, or the enemy jungle, changes how you play. You know, do you want to go forward or do you want to retreat because you know someone's coming up? And you really don't want them to have that because it also, you know, like makes it easier for your teammates to fall victim.
Of course, yeah, those ganks are quite dangerous. You gotta watch out. I mean, some champions are almost built to win a 2 versus 1, especially in the top lane. I say top lane champions are probably the most overpowered, if I'm gonna be honest. But it's because of that you know, top lane champions go top lane. You know, you have like immovable object versus unstoppable force kind of thing. Which is kind of what you see up there. You know, Olaf is like an unstoppable force versus Ornn, very immovable tank, you know. Here we go. We're starting off the game. Less aggression from both sides, although Terps is going to definitely claim control. Mike is just going to solo force Yunara to back off.
We're seeing them push down closer to JMU's tower. You know, playing back, you know, Alistar, you know, he's going to have to get up to that tank level. Right now, he's just like everyone else.
Yeah, at the beginning, you know, if you ever play Pokemon, you know, every Pokemon level 1 is almost the same stats. You know, with a few exceptions, of course. But, you know, League is the same thing. Every champion has almost the same stats at level 1. But as they get higher and higher, you know, the tanks become unkillable. The damage dealers, well, not to say that they can one-shot a tank, but, you know, they can definitely do a good chunk to them very quickly. And of course, assassins too. You know,
especially any other enemy like tanks. You know, they're built to take damage. You know, you come up against a damage dealer, like you're not gonna die instantly. But like anyone else, you know,
like another tank, for example.
Very well. I was talking about more like if a damage dealer goes up against like say like a mage, like a mid laner. You know, your AD carry is gonna do a lot of damage very quickly, and you know. That's what the tanks are for, to stop that.
Yeah, they just block shots. Some abilities stop after the first hit. That means you can, as a tank, just protect your team.
So you explained the orb on Orianna, but right now in Olaf, we're seeing that little crystalline structure pop up on him. You know, if we see that again, would you be comfortable sharing, you know?
Oh, well, that crystalline, that's actually from Ornn. That's Ornn's ability. He just throws out this little... You know, it's like a skill shot, so that means you have to aim it and direct it, and it'll just project out from your character. For Ornn, and you know, each skill shot has like its own effect. Oh, here we go, a flash out from that Alistar, just gonna miss, a little bit out of range. You might gonna get the root there. Meanwhile, Terps and Duke are fighting over the dragon there. Oh, the Dark Dragon is spawned just yet. More fighting up from the bot lanes. Alistar's gonna be out of range to be able to do anything. More damage coming out from Lyrics, just gonna get slowed. Using heal to get that movement speed burst. Lark's going to flash in to secure the kill on that Alistar. Going to try and lock down Yunara there, but she's a little bit too fast. And still used her flash there in order to escape.
I think all in around, just a good gank from Terps. You know, they pulled the enemy into that river where their jungler was waiting to help them, and help them secure first blood.
Yeah. Also, something to note, I think the junglers from each team were fighting there before that happened. And yeah, think about Kayn, as we mentioned, he transforms about halfway through the game, which means early game, he's not very strong. And the Fury, I think, has a fairly strong early to mid game.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that definitely let her just win that fight against Kayn. And, you know, go follow on to help out the bot lane. But now we're going to see Terps with a 600 gold lead, not too significant. They haven't won just yet, of course.
And look what we're seeing here. We're seeing the lane swap from last game, just the same.
Yep, there it is again. Bot lane's going to go top lane for Terps, although Dukes are not going to follow up, which I think makes it quite hard for them. Although I think Ornn has a good ranged ability, so he can still hit those last hits in order to farm.
Especially when you see that crystalline structure pop up, you know, it's a skin. Usually it's just a big rock. It's the sweet spot for a skill shot. If you get hit by that, you're getting knocked up, which is essentially a stun.
Yeah, you can't move for... I mean, for him, it's a short time, but he can combo his other abilities off that very well. And you'll definitely see him during team fights. Very impactful champion. And it looks like Neko's going to get level 6 here, unlocking that ultimate ability. And there we go, some trades happening top lane. V-Mike's going to use the handshake there to pull in Ornn, try and get some more damage in. Although now he gets level 6, which means he has his ultimate, which makes diving him very dangerous. Not to mention that he's a tank, you know, a lot of HP to deal with.
Looks like he's going to try and back there. Oh. Cancel coming out of him, because he saw Renata Glass get hit by that tower, you know, take a bit of damage.
And now here we go, a 2v2 bot lane. Olaf's going to use the Ragnarok to get unstoppable, but unfortunately, enemy team gets out of range, which means he's unable to extend the duration. And now it looks like a kill has happened top lane. Wait, there's a fight going on top lane.
We're seeing the TP up from Team Jungler.
Meanwhile, Dukes has claimed the Chemtech Dragon. Now, just one more kill yeah, the Terps need only one more kill in order to claim that Feats of Strength. Or sorry, the Feats of Warfare.
Sivir getting chased down by the Akali, but I think she's going to back off.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have faith in, you know, Lyrax not dying to an Akali, but she's definitely a strong early game assassin. And someone squishy like Sivir there, it's not going to last very long in that fight, so definitely don't want to take that. And Olaf on his own in the bot lane, you know, he's strong, but he's not unkillable, especially without his ultimate. If the Dukes maybe get a gank bot lane, they probably secure the kill against him. But so far, nothing much going to happen, just some more farming, of course.
I think what's really important to note here is that, you know, because there's two people in lane, they're getting reduced experience. So
that's true.
I won't speak too much on that as this fight is happening. You know, Olaf is going to be forced to back off. Then Yunara doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, I knew Bread wasn't going to die there, but you know, he might as well be dead. How little his HP is. Next time they get an engage on him, they're just going to either finish him off, or well, yeah, I mean they just definitely kill him there, unless he can get some help from his team. But it looks like nobody's around to help out poor Bread in the bottom lane. But I think it should be okay. It looks like the Void Grubs are going to be spawning momentarily, which, as you mentioned last game, was a very significant play from the Terps. Having two people in the top lane instead of one makes it much easier to control the river and just take that objective.
I think, you know, maybe that'll be, after that's done, some solace to come back to top lane and avoid getting, you know, dare I say, bullied by the
well,
Yunara and Alistar.
That's basically what's happening. Oh, here, hold on. That was getting chased out by the Kayn and Akali.
But we're just doing grubs, business as usual, you know. As long as they stay in that bush, like, you see them when they come out, you know, like, they're coming up, all pause grubs to come and help my teammate. But right now, it just seems like, you know, a whole lot of fuss over nothing. You know, Oriana's back in lane, so is Akali. Kane's not there.
They got the go for a tower dive on this Ornn. He's pretty low.
He's having to back up to the tier 2 tower. He flashes.
Flashes to avoid a skill shot that got blocked by a minion. Oh, do you think that was intentional? I think Via Mike might be a genius.
The skill shot on the minion to pay out a flash would you know.
Yeah, I mean, there you can see it in chat there. The V-Mike's pinging Orin's flash. It's a very long cooldown. It's very important for either, it teleports you a short distance, but that short distance can mean everything if you combine it with your abilities.
Mm-hmm. Especially if, like...
Oh, here we go. Here comes out the Call of the Forge God. He's going to whiff the recast, unable to push it back, although now Akali shows up, getting huge damage onto Via Mike. A fight's happening bot lane, too. Health bars are dropping. Pika's trying to lock down the kill onto Kayn. Gets ulted. Gets locked down by Alistar, crowd controlled. Akil's gonna go out for the Dukes. It's 3-4 right now, and I think no, that's not it. Neko's gonna keep chasing the Alistar, and never mind. Wow, that was intense. Two fights at the same time.
Yeah, and it was really important that they got that kill first because
yeah, they got the feats of warfare there. They just needed one more to claim the feats of strength. Wow, that was a crazy fight. Okay. So you think we should talk about like the roles of some of these champions, like in this game? Like we talked about what Ornn does, and what Olaf does. What about someone like Actually, no, we have actually covered almost everyone.
Almost everyone. I mean, we haven't explicitly, talked about, what Orianna's like role is. Like,
oh yeah,
if
we
you
talked
put a
about
name
utility,
to it.
but what does she actually like do besides that?
I mean, like she's a mage. Does a lot of ability damage.
Okay.
Ability power. Very different from your attack damage carry. It's
right.
very two different. Like you have armor, and then you have magic resist.
Oh, of course, they do two different types of damage.
Mm-hmm. It affects like how much damage you take from each of them, and so, Akali is, like physical, I believe.
Oh no, Akali, I think she does primarily magic damage, but back to Orianna actually. Yeah, we can just she does significant damage, especially late game. Early game with her range, she's very easy to sort of just poke down your opponent. Because you can just reach over to them, do like a little bit of damage, and then do that again 5 seconds later. It builds up to a lot. But yeah, late game her damage is quite heavy. It can be very significant.
And then Renata Glask, obviously if you want to take that one.
Oh yeah, Renata. As we mentioned, she's a very high utility support character. I remember last year, Via Mike really wanted to play. Oh, hold on, here we go. A Hex Flash out from Alistar. Gonna get the knock up onto Renata, but doesn't able to follow. Using the handshake, pulls in Alistar and gets taken down. Almost getting away there with just a little bit of HP, but unfortunately the kill went over to Via Mike when you really want to see it on the attack damage carry. But here we go, and use the ultimate there, and Pika's gonna get the kill out on the Yunara there. Wow, that was really good ultimate. But back to what I was saying. I remember last year, Via Mike really wanted to play this champion, Renata, but he just didn't have the hours in it. But thankfully now, after a summer, after another semester, we're able to see him pick this character. He looks much more confident on it now than he did a while ago.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of those skill shots, have just allowed them to get kills. That handshake you see coming out, grabbing that Alistar, keeping him in place, making sure he doesn't get away as they finish him off.
Yeah, it's definitely some very fun gameplay to watch. That's for sure. And besides that, just some farming right now. I think there's some minor lane swaps that are going around.
We're seeing Sivir go mid right now. And, we've got one dragon on each side, and we got Grubs. Terps Esports is one away from the feat of monster slaying.
Oh, that's true.
Rift Herald is going to spawn, and I think that's going to be a heavily contested objective if,
For sure. Oh, yeah, those dragons. So what do they do?
So, we talked about Chemtech Drake, which gives that bonus to healing and shielding, is what you said?
Yeah, healing and shielding, as well as the tenacity.
And the tenacity, and then, the Wind Drake is going to give you just bonus movement speed.
Of course. I think it's out of combat specifically.
Yes.
So as soon as you take damage or deal damage, you lose the effect. But it comes back shortly after you leave. So it can be useful especially if you're a jungler moving between camps. People are very competitive on their clear time, like how many camps they can clear within a specific time. because you know throughput and efficiency is very important. Here we go, a fight coming out here. Kane trying to get an engage, but of course Via Mike just gonna use the handshake there to pull him away. There's got a TP out from Bread, and Pika's gonna try to engage. I believe that was his ultimate right there. Yeah, there it is on cooldown. Kind of a big commitment, especially on a support who could easily just cancel it with his crowd control. But looks like nobody's gonna die there. Not too much action. And Brett's gonna take a recall here. Looks like he's out of mana, but he's gonna use his teleport to come back to lane. He doesn't want to get Ornn. He doesn't want to allow Ornn to do a ton of damage to that turret. All right, let's check some of the items here. So far, okay. So from what I saw, Ornn has completed his Thornmail. As you mentioned, what does Thornmail do again?
Thornmail, you know, every bit of damage, you know, physical damage that you deal to the person with Thornmail is reflected back at an attacker, and then once they take that hit, they are also, you know, inflicted with grievous wounds, which you know decreases the amount of healing that they take.
That's not good, especially for someone like Olaf. You know, he hits a lot, he hits many times, and he also has to heal. Unless we're gonna have a fight down here. Kali gonna use a perfect execution, not gonna finish off Neko. He's still hanging with just a little bit of HP, gets finished off by the passive while Alistar tanks the turret damage. Although it looks like Terps gonna apply some pressure mid lane. Yunora's gonna use her ultimate. Some summoner spells, barriers coming out. Lyrex is getting slowed. Kane's gonna come in there. Hostile takeover from Renata, locks him down. Both teams are so low on Dukes. VMAX is gonna flash in to get the kill. Pika's gonna engage with the Nefiria ability. Wow. Okay. What just happened there? That was a lot.
Yeah, we just saw like a 3 kill for 1 death for Terps. You know, it just that team fight took so long. You know, Nefiri was up taking Rift Herald to secure those feats, but it's just Terps were able to stay alive for so long. You know, Nefiri was able to come down into lane and support them. But you see, getting hit by that Ornn ult, you're gonna flash out of it.
Yep. Just barely safe, but you know, it's a long cooldown to use. Okay, so we have Nefiri seeing with the Eclipse finish. That's a good item to just do some burst damage and then get out. And we see Orianna with the Rod of Ages. That's a good item for mages. It gives them some mana, which means they can cast more abilities before they're sort of out of energy.
Indeed.
Some ability power, which boosts damage, as well as HP to make them more durable. Very useful item. And we have Bread pushing up bot lane with Akali waiting in the bushes, although I'm pretty sure Olaf wins that matchup. Oh, but there's Kane following up too. Hopefully Bread has Bread has his ultimate to be able to try and fight back. Uses his ghost. I think he's just gonna run away. I think he's fine. Oh, but Ornn, not Ornn, Alistar's right there. Gonna force the Ragnarok, the ultimate, out of Bread there, forcing him to run away.
Alistar might have used his ult there and missed.
Oh no, he definitely hit that. It's just that, you know, with
that
Ornn's
unstoppable.
Yeah, Olaf's ultimate makes him unstoppable, which means no crowd control can affect him. And right now, just going back to some farming, not too much going on. Right now, Terps are up about 5,000 gold, which is pretty good.
Dragon spawned here. This looks like, you know, gearing up for a fight. You know, recall from the Alistar, but Kane is in the bot side of the jungle. Might try and contest that.
Terps is trying to lure the but that's the Hextech dragon from Arcane.
From Arcane.
Yeah, they're trying to lure it out of the pit, so make it further away from the from Dukes. And we're gonna see a teleport come in from Neko. Oh, the dragon was stolen by Dukes. He just jumped in and used his smite, and looks like he's now dead because of that play. Well, I mean, that was a good buff to go over for Dukes, but hopefully the Terps will be able to use something now that they've now they'll be able to do something now that they've killed a member from Dukes.
You know, and it's just you have to weigh the cost benefit. Like Terps may have gotten that kill, but they lost the dragon. You know, I think
here's a gank coming out, 3 versus 1. Akali's gonna use a lot of her abilities to get away from them, but whoa, what was that? Okay. The use of her shuriken there, that was really good. But anyways, now that she's too low to defend her turret, Terps is just gonna finish it off. But that was an amazing kill, honestly. Like,
yeah,
they got outplayed.
incredible. just, chasing down the Lona Fury and then getting out instantly, because you're not going to win that after.
Nope. Anyways, Neko's going to try and defend the turret there. Using his range to his advantage, just clear off the minions so that way the Dukes have to back off. And I think it looks like more lane swaps. Our ADC is going to be mid lane, and then our mid laner is going to be bot lane. Sometimes stuff like this happens. And top lane is just more fist fighting. Well, not too much.
I think it's very usual to see that lane swap from bot and mid as soon as those towers go down.
Yep. Oh, that sound means Otacon is spawning another neutral objective, as we mentioned before. He's in the bottom lane. So that means teams are going to try and fight for vision around there. Although it looks like Terps have a pretty good advantage over... Yeah, okay. So another thing about the jungler is they have this ability called Smite, which does a large, about 1,000 damage to a monster, which is very effective for finishing it off. And now here we go. Duke's trying to engage on Terps using Call of the Forge God on that Ornn. Unfortunately, nobody's there to follow up. And Terps are just backing off. Unfortunately, they're low here. Neko's going to have to run away. And Bread, without his teleport, is just going to keep split pushing on his own. And I think Terps are just going to back off Otacon. Or maybe not. Maybe Pika's going to go fight for vision. Maybe Bread will rotate over to them. Not sure what their play is right now.
Yeah, any idea right now. But as you can see, Kayn has transitioned to a bluer look.
Oh, he is definitely blue now. So remind us, what does the blue mean versus being red?
It means that he's capable of doing more damage in, bursts. Red, more of a bruiser. You're capable of taking
out of
damage.
mid lane. Trades back and forth for the Lyrics on the Sivir against Yunara, but Kane's going to jump in there. As you mentioned, a very effective assassin. Pika's going to follow up and chase him down and just finish off that Kane there. Going to use the ultimate to go in. Shockwave coming out from Orianna. Not doing too much there because of Alistar knocking away the ball.
I think it's really difficult for Terps to engage here because, Renata and Olaf both low.
Yeah, a lot of their... Yeah, well, Renata generally is quite squishy. She actually is one of the more durable support champions, especially with her shielding herself. And if you see the items that she has there, they both give her HP. And one of them gives her more resistances, which allows her to tank more hits before, dying. So while she can tank a few hits, she's not, invincible, of course. Now here we go, a fight over Otacon. Some ultimates come out. All-Star's going to get taken down. Ornn's doing huge damage. Akali getting some damage onto Bread there. Pika's going to dodge some of that engage. Call of the Forge God coming out. Only just going to do some damage. No follow-up there.
I think what's really important is... Oh, the fight goes on. Nefiri trying to stay alive as best they can because, as you were talking about, Smite, incredibly important in finishing off those, neutral monsters or neutral camps faster than the enemy can. If you don't have your jungler in there, someone could just come in and, steal it from you.
Of course. Yeah, it's the last hit that matters, as it usually does. I think the only thing that doesn't matter is sort of between your own team, all right? It doesn't matter who on the red team gets the last hit on Otacon, as long as it's the red team that gets the last hit.
Indeed.
Now here you go, a shift towards trying to get down this Alistar. They're actually going to do some damage, although of course Alistar is a bit faster, so he's probably just going to run away. And they might have found Kayn there, which maybe they'll try and lock him down. Jungler didn't get a pick off there. Yeah, the jungler is very important. It looks like instead of focusing Otacon, they're going to get the dragon instead, which is a much easier target. Well, of course, because it's easier, it's also less significant. I guess there could be a maximum of, 8 dragons in one game, technically?
I would say 7.
7, that's right. Yeah, because each team can only get 4 dragons. And once the 4th one is taken for one team, no more dragons will spawn. And now here we see the Terps fighting the Otacon, getting it to half HP. The Dukes are too far away to be able to stop them here. Maybe they'll try and do something to steal it away, but as you mentioned, with our jungler having Smite, it makes it hard. Ragnarok coming out from Ornn, not from Ornn, from Olaf. Just going to ignore the crowd control, run in there, do some damage. Pika's in the back line, just doing tons of damage with the Nefiri. Call of the Forge God coming out from Ornn, trying to crowd control them. And it looks like, oh, this does not look good for Terps. They're getting too many of them are low HP, and other assassins from Dukes are coming in. Wazani's coming out from Akali, unstoppable for 2 seconds, but that's not enough to get her out of danger. And I think the Terps won that. They collected Otacon, right?
They collected Otacon and they got a 3 for 2 there.
Wow.
You know, Kane just wasn't in a good position to, you know, contest that.
Nope.
You know, just had Nefiri come in with quick smite, and you know, that was that.
Yeah. Although, think about Otacon. While we mentioned gold is very important, experience is also very important, because with experience you get more levels, which means you're getting more higher stats. As let's see a replay right here. Here we go. Here we see Pika, Bread, and I think that's Lyrex running them down. We're gonna try and do whatever he can to stop them, but unfortunately it's too low. Kane and Akali just coming in out of nowhere and just trying to finish off a couple of them. But Terps overall won that trade. Right now we're just gonna go back to farming. Not too much going on.
That Baron spawn, but you know, 25 minutes is the earliest you can do Baron, and most of the time you do it a lot later because you're still building.
Of course, Baron is a tough target to take down unless you're very fed, as they say.
And you know, 7k gold lead and 6k ish, probably in my opinion not fed enough.
No, that's true. I mean, well, they could definitely take down Baron. You know, if Dukes shows up, you know, while they're taking it, Baron has this effect that will reduce its target's magic resist and its armor, which means that they'll take a lot more damage if Dukes shows up. They'll probably lose the fight, to be completely honest. But now they are waiting, hoping to set a trap here. Unfortunately, they only find Alistar, which isn't the most important target, but they'll take whatever they can.
Well, Alistar gone. They know Ornn is bot lane. That's their front line.
That's true.
It's just making this pretty easy to just run down, you know, a single target.
Yeah, that's completely true. And while Terps might lack their own front line, I think their utility very well makes up for it. But here we go, Ragnarok coming out from Bread there. Just going to keep wailing on this Ornn. I don't think he's going to be able to get away. Yep, there you go, kill for Bread. And with 2 gone from Dukes, it looks like Terps going to hit the Baron, but instead they get off it because they know Kane's nearby. So they're going to try and just throw some damage at each other. Baron's still aggroed onto them. It's going to force Terps to back off here. They don't want to fight now that they've been hit by Baron, but in the meantime, Bread has been able to take bottom turret, tier 2.
We're seeing, you know, the shift away from Baron into this mid lane now. I think both teams just want to get away. They know they're not able to stick that Baron fight, and it's just applying debuffs to them. They're moving away.
So it looks like from Olaf, we have Stridebreaker and Experimental Hexblade. Those are very critical for just allowing him to run fast and hit very, very fast. Yeah, those are 2 very useful items that helps him. With Stridebreaker, once he gets onto a target, he's able to stick onto them. And with Hexblade, once he uses his ultimate, which is very important, mind you, he's able to just keep running at them and then hit even faster. So I think it's a very good build for him. And here we go, Terps again on Baron. Call the Forge God coming out from Ornn. Only going to hit a couple targets, but no follow-up. Bread's in there doing tons of damage. Hostile Takeover coming out from Renata, just going to crowd control a lot of the Dukes. Olaf is still in there, just hitting them. He's going to back off now because he's too low to finish anyone off. Pika's in there just to finish off that Yunara. A lot of burst damage as an assassin. Unfortunately, he's getting crowd controlled by that Ornn. Meanwhile, Yunara just tons of damage to their backline. Whoa, what's going on? Where are we? Okay, Neko was able to finish off Ornn. Yunara is down. Pico is invincible for just long enough to kill that Kane. Wow, another flawless ace.
Wonderfully played. I think that Ornn just came out way too soon. Like,
yeah,
you
I
saw it
agree.
at the beginning of the fight, and, you know, Terpsies were too split up at that point to have, you know, the full effect. You know, as you saw, like...
Only 2 targets were hit, and no one was there to follow up.
JMU kind of came around them from both sides, pinched them. You know, I think that's when it would have worked the most. But,
Yeah.
you know, there was nothing there to stop, you know, the Terps from just picking one side and just, like, steamrolling right through them.
Yep, that's exactly what they did with Olaf there. I mean, that was such a great team fight. Unfortunately, they're not able to win off of that. The death timers are still too short. Just be able to just steamroll through their nexus. Without the Baron buff, also they're not doing as much damage to the turrets. But now they're here on Dragon, and I think they're at a significant lead right now, almost 10,000 gold lead over the Dukes. Well, of course, that doesn't mean they've won yet. They still need to fight for these objectives, fight for kills. And they get the Dragon, and they take down Kane, who was unable to escape.
Kane looking to steal that again. I think he got a bit too confident off of the first one.
Yeah, I agree.
Just tried to go again, but,
I mean, you gotta try. You always gotta try.
You do. Especially because, that gold disparity has started objective bounties.
Here's an engager. Kali trying to go in. Call the Forge God. Olaf's in there with his ultimate. He's taking too much damage. Shockwave out from Orianna. Huge crowd control, huge damage. Orn's just going to get shredded by Terps. Meanwhile, Akali tries to run away, maybe stall him for a few seconds, but I don't think it's going to be for long enough. Oh, it looks like she's on these right now. And that's another flawless apes for Terps. Wow, what a great team fight.
I'm just going to use that to keep pushing.
I think they might be able to win the game off that, although Kane is up now. Some of them are quite low. Kane could finish them off. Although they're just going to stay out of his effective range. They have Renata to be able to shield any teammates that are at risk of getting attacked. They're just going to keep hitting the turrets there. They're just going to blow up Kane. Okay. And that's game 2.
That's game.
And
best
that's
of
another
3.
win for Terps, yeah.
Terps Esports has won. Incredible.
We did it. I mean, we're unbiased. I mean, Terps won. Good job, Terps.
Good job, Terps. I'm sure they're very proud of themselves.
I'm sure they are.
I'm
sure they are.
Not ecstatic right now.
Yeah, we're just, very objective casters. But, I mean, that was a very exciting game.
Exciting game,
a lot
incredible
of really
performance.
Amazing team fights.
And I think, just all-out dominance throughout that entire second match.
For sure.
We talked about that slow start from the first map. I didn't see any of that. I think it was incredible. There's, they won, but they're still stoic,
Yeah, always calm, always composed. I'm sure they're hearing some very nice words from their coach. Congratulations on winning. Although maybe they've forgotten a few things. There's always things to work on. Nobody's perfect.
Definitely.
So while it was a win, there's still ways to improve, and I'm sure they're going to keep looking for that before we head into our next match next week. So stay tuned. Although I think next week, actually, our academy team will be coming into stream. And Premier will be playing from home. And I think this semester will be alternating. Okay. Okay, well, I think that concludes our match for tonight. And yeah, thanks to all of our sponsors. Thanks for Reckwell, and thanks for the School of Journalism here at the University of Maryland. Yeah, that's about it. Anything else?
I don't think so. Just lovely match. Had a great time with my co-caster.
I as well.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.